The desert sun beat down mercilessly as the joint alien-human expedition prepared to descend into the ancient excavation site. Massive drilling rigs hummed steadily, boring through layers of rock and dust that had buried the secret for millennia. The Aurelia shuttle had touched down just hours ago, bringing the elite team of scientists, archaeologists, and military personnel together for a mission unlike any other. Lyra adjusted her visor, shielding her eyes as she surveyed the excavation site. The desert wind whipped up swirling clouds of sand, but beneath it all lay a mystery older than humanity itself. Coordinates indicate something massive buried at 200 meters below surface, said Talar, an alien archaeologist whose translucent skin shimmered faintly in the sun. Structure is not natural, clearly constructed. Celine nodded, standing beside Lyra. Our ancestors called it the Cradle, a place no one dared explore for centuries. If it contains answers, we need to find them. Rivas approached, his expression grave. Keep in mind, this could be dangerous. Whatever is down there may challenge our understanding of humanity and its origins. The team descended via armored transport into the deep cavern beneath the desert. The walls were etched with strange symbols, an ancient script, neither human nor alien in origin. Lyra's portable scanner hummed, picking up faint energy signatures embedded in the rock. Look at this, she murmured, pointing to the wall. This isn't just decoration, it's a map or a warning. As the group ventured deeper, the cavern widened into a vast chamber. At its center, a massive crystalline console pulsed with dormant energy. When Selene stepped forward and placed her hand on the surface, the crystal flickered alive, bathing the chamber in an eerie blue light. A holographic figure materialized, a towering being clad in armor, its face obscured by a helmet of shifting light. I am the architect. The figure intoned in a voice that echoed through the chamber. Long ago we shaped your kind, engineered to be the ultimate survivors, warriors forged from genetic fire. The aliens exchanged stunned glances. Celine's jaw tightened. We were created as weapons? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. The architect's hologram flickered. Not weapons in a narrow sense, instruments of balance, designed to fight endless wars, to endure and adapt when all others fall. You were forged to wield chaos as a tool. Lyra stepped closer, scanning the figure. But why? Who was the enemy so great that such a creation was necessary? The hologram's light dimmed. Our war was eternal, against a darkness beyond. Your knowing. We vanished but left behind our legacy in you. Suddenly, the chamber trembled. The energy from the crystal pulsed violently. The map etched on the wall shifted, revealing stars and battlefronts spanning the galaxy. Kyle drew his weapon. This place isn't just a tomb, it's a command center. Before anyone could react, a hidden panel slid open, revealing a cache of ancient weaponry and armored exoskeletons, preserved perfectly despite the eons. Selene's eyes widened. This technology, it's beyond anything we have. Lyra examined a device. It integrates directly with the nervous system, amplifying reflexes, strength, and cognition. It matches the genetic enhancements we detected. Rivas's voice was grim. So the architects didn't just engineer humans, they gave them tools to unlock their full potential in war. Talar studied the symbols closely. And it appears they programmed these enhancements to activate only in the presence of extreme threat. Suddenly, an alarm echoed through the chamber. An automated defense system had triggered. The group barely dodged as energy barriers slammed down, isolating them inside. Kale activated his comms. Command, we're trapped in the chamber. Unknown defense system activated. Rivas barked orders. Focus on disabling the barriers. Lyra, can you hack it? Lyra's fingers flew over her console. I'm trying, but the system is ancient, encrypted with a language I can barely decode. Minutes dragged as the barriers tightened, the energy growing more intense. Then Lyra gasped. I found something, a failsafe. The architects wanted only those worthy to access the tech. Selene stepped forward, eyes locked on the hologram. What must we do? The hologram's voice echoed solemnly. To claim the legacy, you must prove the strength of your spirit, not just your body. Celine closed her eyes. I'm ready. The chamber shifted. Holographic challenges sprang to life. Simulations of battle, puzzles testing intellect and empathy, trials of endurance. The team worked together, combining human creativity and alien technology. Lyra's scientific mind cracked ancient codes. Kael's combat experience guided their physical tests. Celine's leadership inspired trust and cooperation. After hours of struggle, the chamber's defenses powered down. The barriers lifted and the hologram nodded approvingly. You have passed the test. The legacy is yours, but beware. The war, for which you were made, still looms. Rivas looked at Celine. This changes everything. Humanity's origins are not myth. They are a call to arms. Celine nodded, her eyes fierce. Not just to fight, but to choose what kind of warriors we become. Lyra whispered. We were engineered for war, but maybe our greatest power is deciding how to wield it. Outside, the desert sun was setting. The shadows lengthened across the sand, but beneath the surface, a new chapter in humanity's story was just beginning. Orbiting a dim yellow star in the outer reaches of the Andromeda sector, the Aurelia drifted silently, its sleek hull reflecting the pale light of distant suns. The ship's genetic research lab buzzed with low hums and flickering holographic displays, but the atmosphere was anything but calm. Lyra, the ship's lead geneticist, leaned forward, eyes narrowing as she scrutinized the latest data streaming across her screens. Captain, you need to see this, Lyra called out, voice tight with excitement and disbelief. Her fingers danced over the console, pulling up a complex visualization of human DNA sequences collected from recent deep scans of Earth. Captain Rivas stepped into the lab, his tall frame casting a long shadow. His eyes locked onto the screen. What am I looking at? Lyra pointed at a twisted spiral of coded patterns within the strands of human DNA. These sequences, they're not random mutations or natural evolution. Look here. These segments are interwoven with artificial markers, like someone rewrote parts of their genome deliberately. Rivas frowned, crossing his arms. Engineered? You're saying humans were designed? Exactly. Lyra's voice dropped lower. And not just designed to survive. Their DNA carries embedded protocols for aggression, adaptability, endurance, like they were created to fight, to conquer. A hush fell over the lab. The idea was staggering. The prevailing belief across the coalition was that humans, like all known species, evolved naturally. Messy, unpredictable, but organic. If this was true, it could change everything. Rivas tapped his chin thoughtfully. How deep does this go? Could it be a viral contaminant or some ancient bioweapon residue? Lyra shook her head. No, this is core genome architecture. These engineered sequences are ancient, embedded in every human cell, and the complexity suggests a precursor race with technology far beyond anything we've seen. Then we need to verify this, double-check every sample, and keep it quiet for now. Rivas's voice was steady but carried the weight of command. If word gets out, it could cause panic or worse, political fallout. Lyra nodded, already preparing to initiate further scans. But as she worked, a troubling thought gnawed at her. Why would a species be genetically engineered for war? What kind of enemy did their creators expect them to face? Back on Earth, in a bustling command center hidden beneath the Nevada desert, humans were already aware that the Aurelia had made contact. They watched the stars with wary eyes and minds sharpened by centuries of conflict. General Malik Kane stood before a holographic map of the solar system, flanked by advisors and intelligence officers. The alien message was clear but cryptic. Questions about humanity's biology and origins. Malik's jaw tightened. Lyra's people think we're some kind of engineered weapon, he muttered. They don't know the half of it. His second-in-command, Captain Jessa Lorne, crossed her arms. Do we tell them? If they find out we were made for war, it could change everything. Alliances, treaties, trust. Malik's gaze hardened. We tell them nothing. Not yet. If humans are engineered, that means someone out there wants us to fight. And maybe, just maybe, that someone is still watching. On the Aurelia, Lyra's team isolated the embedded code further. Using advanced algorithms, they decoded fragments of an ancient language intertwined with the DNA, revealing a chilling message. Engineered for conflict, survival through war. The discovery rippled through the ship like a shockwave. Commander, Kale, the chief of security, approached Lyra with a grave expression. If this is true, humans aren't just another species. They're a weapon left behind by a war lost long ago. Rivas clenched his fists. And now we have to decide what to do with that weapon. Before an answer could be given, the ship's sensors picked up an unexpected transmission from Earth. A coded signal, a challenge, a demonstration of readiness. Lyra's eyes widened. They're not waiting for us to decide. They're preparing. Rivas stared out the viewport toward the blue planet below. So, the game begins. The Aurelia descended from its distant orbit toward Earth, a silent shadow against the vast blue-green globe. The crew's anticipation was palpable, a mix of excitement and unease hanging in the recycled air. The aliens aboard had spent weeks analyzing humanity's genetic code, peeling back layer after layer of secrets, but nothing had prepared them for the moment of actual contact. Captain Rivas stood on the bridge, flanked by Lyra and Commander Kale. Open a direct communication channel to Earth's command, he ordered. The bridge's translucent console shimmered, then split into multiple holographic feeds. One by one, human representatives appeared. Soldiers, scientists, and diplomats, all wary but composed. The tallest among them stepped forward, a woman with sharp eyes and a calm presence. I am Ambassador Celine Marlowe, she announced. We have received your message. Rivas inclined his head. Ambassador Marlowe, we come seeking answers and understanding. Celine's gaze flicked to Lyra. We know you've been examining our genetics. Your questions imply a suspicion. What have you discovered? Lyra took a step forward. Our scans reveal that humans carry genetic sequences that appear engineered, coded for war, adaptability, endurance. This is unlike any natural species, we know. A ripple passed through the human delegation. Celine's lips pressed into a thin line. That is true, but understanding requires context. Kyle's eyes narrowed. Context? Humans seem ready for conflict. Your military forces are active, your weaponry advanced. Why prepare so thoroughly if not for war? Celine's voice hardened. Because we must survive. We were built to survive. The aliens exchanged uneasy glances. Rivas broke the silence. By whom, and why? Before Celine could answer, an alert sounded on the Aurelia. Kale checked the sensor readout. Captain, multiple human fleets are mobilizing, at a defensive posture but moving fast. Rivas frowned. What are they doing? Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. Preparing for war. On the human side, Celine raised a hand. We are not the threat. We've waited for centuries for this moment. We expected you to be cautious, but not hostile. Rivas nodded slowly. We mean no harm, but your genetic legacy suggests you were designed as warriors. How do we trust that? Celine's eyes flashed. Because we've chosen a different path. We're more than our origins. Suddenly, a second transmission interrupted the dialogue. A coded message from deep space. A signal from an unknown hostile force heading toward Earth's sector. The aliens decoded it instantly. A fleet of marauders bent on conquest. Rivas looked at Celine. Your war readiness? Are you preparing for this threat? Celine's face hardened. Exactly. The tension shifted. Now, suspicion was replaced by urgency. Lyra stepped forward. If your creators engineered you for war, perhaps that means they foresaw this exact scenario. Celine nodded grimly. We are the weapons left behind to defend against what they feared. Kyle paced. Then the question becomes, can you still control that weapon? Or will it consume you? Celine's voice softened. That is the choice we face. Rivas turned to his crew. We must decide quickly. Do we offer alliance or containment? Lyra met Celine's gaze. Show us your true nature. Celine smiled faintly. Then come to Earth. See for yourself. The Aurelia lowered, a shuttle toward Earth's surface, landing near a sprawling human military base in the Nevada desert. As the aliens disembarked, they were met not with hostility but careful observation. Celine led them through the complex, labs where human scientists studied alien technology, training grounds where soldiers drilled with fierce precision, and a council chamber where leaders debated strategy with grim determination. At every turn, the aliens noticed something unexpected. Moments of kindness, cooperation, and humor, humanity's warmth bleeding through their hard exterior. In the council chamber, Celine addressed the aliens directly. We cannot erase the blood in our veins, but we can choose what it means. We are not simply weapons. We are a species fighting to define itself. Lyra asked, but what if your war code overrides that choice? What if conflict is inevitable? Celine's eyes were steady. Then we will fight to protect what we cherish, not out of hatred or rage, but out of love and survival. Suddenly, alarms blared. The Marauder fleet had entered the system, closing fast. Rivas turned sharply. We need to act together. Celine's voice rang with resolve. Agreed. Let this be our trial, our chance to prove humanity's true nature. The aliens and humans prepared for war, not as enemies but as uneasy allies facing a darkness that threatened them all. As the first enemy ships appeared on the horizon, Lyra whispered to Rivas, whatever happens next, the galaxy will never see humans the same way again. Rivas nodded, eyes fixed on the incoming threat. Let's hope they survive long enough to change that perception. The ancient chamber's revelation still echoed in the minds of the Aurelia's crew as the joint expedition returned to the surface. But the weight of the truth, that humanity was engineered for war, was only the beginning. In a secured conference room aboard the Aurelia, holograms flickered to life, displaying reenactments of early human history. Lyra controlled the playback, her voice steady but tinged with awe. These simulations were created using recovered historical data, combined with genetic memory imprints we extracted from human neural samples, she explained. They reveal not just events, but the visceral experience of survival. The room fell silent as the first scenes unfolded, a brutal dawn of humanity, painted in blood and fire. The camera zoomed in on a group of early humans, rugged and wild, moving stealthily through dense forests. They were hunters, but also warriors, locked in an endless struggle for dominance, not only against rival tribes but against a harsh, unforgiving world. A fierce battle erupted as one tribe ambushed another. Spears flew, bones cracked, screams pierced the air. Yet beneath the violence there was cunning, tactics, alliances, betrayals. Lyra's voice broke the silence. These weren't mindless savages. Their DNA gave them enhanced reflexes, pain, resistance, and rapid healing. They were survivors bred for conflict. Rivas clenched his jaw. But surviving isn't the same as thriving. How did they move beyond this? Celine's eyes gleamed with quiet determination. By finding purpose, beyond war, the simulation shifted, revealing moments of humanity's first tentative steps toward peace. Small villages forming, trade beginning, ideas exchanged. But even then, the undercurrent of conflict remained, a wariness ingrained in their genes. In one scene, a young woman named Isla stood between warring clans pleading for ceasefire. Her courage inspired a fragile truce, a spark of hope. Lyra nodded. It's in their nature to fight, but also to protect what they love. Kyle, sitting silently until now, finally spoke. That's the war within every human. The battle between destruction and creation. The hologram showed centuries unfolding in fast motion, empires rising and falling, wars waged across continents, yet always with moments of compassion, art, and discovery breaking through. Later, in a quiet moment on the ship's observation deck, Celine confided to Lyra, "Our ancestors were weapons, yes, but also artists, philosophers, dreamers. We carry the capacity for both war and peace." Lyra looked out at the stars. "If you are engineered for war, does that mean it's inevitable? That conflict is your destiny?" Celine shook her head. "No. It means the choice is harder. We must fight harder to be more than what we were made to be." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Suddenly, an alert pierced the calm. Kale appeared, his expression grim. "Command, we've intercepted a distress call from a human colony under attack by the same marauder fleet heading this way." Rivas immediately issued orders. "Prepare a response team. This is our chance to see humanity's war nature in action, and whether they can control it." The Aurelia and human forces launched together, hurtling toward the embattled colony on the edge of known space. As they approached the conflict zone, sensors revealed chaos, burning ships, desperate calls for reinforcements, a ground assault, unfolding with brutal efficiency. Celine led the charge. Her voice was steady, rallying troops with a mix of calm strategy and fierce resolve. "Hold the line. Protect the civilians. Remember who we are fighting for." On the battlefield, humans displayed terrifying adaptability. Soldiers shifted tactics fluidly, combining advanced technology with raw instinct. Healing units operated on the front lines, pulling wounded comrades from fire. Engineers deployed defenses with lightning speed. Lyra watched from the command deck, heart pounding. This is more than combat. It's a test of humanity's soul. Amid the firestorm, a young soldier named Jax fought fiercely to protect a group of refugees trapped in a ruined settlement. His genetic enhancements pushed him beyond normal limits. He moved faster, hit harder, ignored pain. But when an enemy fighter aimed at a child, Jax hesitated. His instincts screamed to strike, but something deeper held him back. "Do not become what they want you to be," a voice whispered in his mind. His own, but clearer, stronger. Jax lowered his weapon and shielded the child, risking everything. The battle raged until the Marauder fleet, overwhelmed by coordinated defense and unexpected human resilience, began to retreat. Victory was hard-won but undeniable. Back on the Aurelia, Rivas turned to Celine and Lyra. "Humanity's war nature is undeniable, but so is their restraint." Celine nodded. "We are still the weapon, yes, but one with a conscience." Lyra added, "Perhaps the greatest evolution is not genetic but moral." Rivas allowed himself a rare smile. "Then maybe, just maybe, humanity's true power lies in the war within, the battle to rise above their origins." The stars outside gleamed cold and distant, but inside the ship, hope burned bright. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready to show that even a weapon forged for war could choose peace. The celebrations aboard the Aurelia were brief. Though the Marauder fleet had been repelled, the victory was tempered by grim knowledge. Their enemy was relentless, and the threat was far from over. Captain Rivas convened the senior officers in the ship's war room, a circular chamber lined with holographic maps and tactical interfaces. The air was thick with tension. "We've only seen the Vanguard," Rivas began. "Our sensors picked up a hidden base deep in the uncharted nebula Vexus. It's the source of the Marauder fleet." Celine's expression darkened. "If that's their staging ground, it means a full-scale invasion could be imminent." Lyra tapped at her console, bringing up detailed scans. "I've also detected anomalies in human DNA samples from the colony we just defended. Mutations not related to the engineered sequences. These are new, viral in nature." Kyle slammed his fist on the table. "You're saying the enemy is attacking our very biology?" "Exactly," Lyra confirmed. "It appears they've unleashed a bioweapon designed to target the genetic enhancements, the very code that gives humanity its edge." Celine's voice was fierce. "If that weapon spreads, it could strip us of our strength, or worse, turn our own biology against us." Rivas stared at the data, the gravity settling in. "We need to strike first, find that base and destroy it. The mission was clear, but the risks were immense. The Aurelia's crew prepared for a covert assault on the heart of the enemy's territory. As the ship approached Nebula Vexus, the swirling gas clouds concealed more than just stars. The nebula seemed alive, almost sentient, a shifting maze of shadow and light. Tlar's voice echoed through the bridge. Sensors are failing. The nebula interferes with scans. There's something masking their signature. Lyra frowned. This is unlike anything I've seen. The enemy's technology isn't just advanced, it's biological. They're weaponizing the nebula itself. Celine turned sharply. A living fortress. We're walking into a trap. Rivas gave the order. Prepare the boarding teams. We go in stealth. Disable their systems from within. The assault teams launched in armored shuttles, slipping through the nebula's toxic mists. Inside the enemy base, the walls pulsed with organic matter, breathing, writhing, adapting. Lyra's team hacked into the alien biotech systems, fighting viruses and corrosive defenses designed to fry their neural implants. Kale's soldiers battled grotesque creatures, twisted by the same biological warfare that targeted human genetics. Amid the chaos, Selene led a squad to the core chamber, where the enemy's command nexus glowed ominously, a swirling mass of organic circuits and veins. Suddenly, a chilling voice echoed in their minds, a psychic broadcast, alien and cruel. You are the product of our design, yes, it hissed. But we are your creator's enemies. We've forged the virus to reclaim what was stolen. Selene gritted her teeth. Your war is not ours. Meanwhile, on the Aurelia, Lyra raced to decode the virus's structure. She realized it wasn't just a weapon. It was a message embedded in the DNA, a parasitic code designed to rewrite human genetics from within. The virus is a parasite and a programmer, she explained. If it takes hold, it will override human DNA, turning enhancements into weaknesses. Rivas clenched his fists. Then we must find a cure. Fast. Lyra's fingers flew over the console. I'm synthesizing a counteragent, but I'll need samples from the battlefield to refine it. Back in the enemy base, Celine's team fought through the final defenses. As they reached the core, a massive creature emerged. An alien bioengineered warlord, a grotesque reflection of humanity's engineered warriors but twisted into a nightmare. Selene shouted orders. Focus fire. We end this here. The battle was brutal. Celine's team used every skill, every ounce of training and genetic enhancement to take down the creature. With a final coordinated strike, it collapsed, and the command nexus began to destabilize. Time to retreat. Kyle barked. The shuttle escaped just as the base erupted in a cascade of organic explosions, the nebula itself seeming to recoil. Back on the Aurelia, Lyra injected the first doses of the antidote into infected volunteers. Slowly, the symptoms receded. Hope flickered. Rivas addressed the crew. This fight isn't over. The enemy knows we are more than weapons. They fear our will to survive and adapt. Selene nodded. They tried to rewrite us, but we wrote our own story. Lyra added quietly, our war is not just against enemies outside, it's against the darkness within and the legacy we choose to carry. The stars outside glittered cold and indifferent, but inside the Aurelia, a fierce light burned, the unbreakable spirit of a species forged in war, determined to choose peace. The quiet hum of the Aurelia's engines was a fragile comfort after the chaos of Nebula Vexus, yet beneath the surface the crew was restless. Each victory peeled back more questions about the war, their enemies, and the dark genesis of humanity itself. Lyra sat in the ship's research lab, surrounded by flickering consoles and holograms. She stared at a rotating 3D model of the virus, her fingers trembling as she traced the strands of parasitic code woven through human DNA. Something doesn't add up, she murmured. Selene stepped inside, her expression shadowed. What is it? Lyra pointed to a series of anomalies embedded deep in the genetic code, fragments that didn't match the architect's known design. This virus, it's ancient, older than the Marauders, older than the architects. It's a remnant of an older war. Rivas entered, overhearing the last words. An older war? Before Lyra could answer, the ship's communications flickered. An unexpected transmission arrived, a fragmented signal in a language older than any known. Talar, the alien archaeologist, stepped forward, his translucent form shimmering. This is the language of the architect's creators, the progenitors, long thought extinct. Celine's eyes widened. Then our war is just a chapter in a much larger conflict. Lyra began to translate the message. It's a warning, a plea for help from the progenitors, trapped beyond the veil of stars. The hologram before them rippled, transforming into a star map marked with hidden portals, gateways between galaxies once used by the progenitors to wage war against a shadowy force known only as the Void. Rivas leaned in. The Void. That's the enemy of the architects, the marauders, and now us. Celine's voice was resolute. We were engineered for this war, yes, but also to end it. Later, Celine and Rivas met in the ship's briefing room, staring at the glowing star map. We've been fighting the symptoms, Celine said. The virus, the marauders, the genetic manipulation, they're all tools in a war far bigger than us. Rivas nodded. If the progenitors are calling for help, then the battle is far from over. Celine's gaze hardened. We have to find the Veil of Stars. There we may find the key to stopping the Void. Meanwhile, Lyra and Talar delved into the Aurelia's archives, uncovering lost records from the architects, databases encrypted, with layers of cryptic data. As they decrypted the files, a chilling history emerged. The progenitors had been the galaxy's original creators, architects of life and war, balance and destruction. But their hubris had drawn the Void, a formless, insatiable force that consumed worlds and corrupted life itself. To combat the Void, the progenitors created the architects, beings who engineered warriors, including humanity, as their weapons. But, Lyra said quietly, the architects vanished long ago, leaving their creations behind to fight an endless war. Talar's voice was somber. Perhaps they expected us to become something greater, or to fail. The revelation rippled through the crew. Humanity's origins were no longer a secret. It was a legacy entwined with cosmic forces beyond comprehension. Celine addressed the Aurelia's crew in the main hall. We are not just soldiers or survivors. We are the heirs of a forgotten war, entrusted with a choice, to continue fighting as weapons or to break the cycle and forge a new path. Rivas added, the Void seeks to consume all life and hope. If we fail, everything will be lost. Lyra stepped forward. But if we succeed, we can redefine what it means to be human, not just engineered for war, but evolved for peace. The Aurelia set course for the Veil of Stars, a swirling cosmic storm at the galaxy's edge, rumored to be a gateway to the progenitor's realm. As they approached, the ship's sensors detected a massive presence, an ancient guardian, a sentinel left behind by the progenitors to protect the gateway. The guardian's form was vast and shimmering, part machine, part living star, a being of pure energy and will. It spoke without words, flooding their minds with images, eons of war, sacrifice, and hope. It challenged their worthiness, not just as warriors, but as stewards of life. Selene stepped forward, her voice steady. We are the legacy of creation and destruction. We choose to protect, to preserve, to build. The Guardian's light pulsed and slowly it relented. The gateway opened, revealing a starry abyss beyond. Inside the Veil of Stars, the Aurelia ventured into unknown realms, dimensions where reality twisted and time folded upon itself. Here, the true war awaited, a conflict that would test not just their strength but their very souls. As the crew gazed into the infinite, Celine whispered, "This is our chance, to end the war that began before us and to be more than the sum of our origins." Lyra nodded, eyes shining with determination. For the first time, the future is ours to write. Rivas stood tall. And we will fight, not because we were made to, but because we choose to protect all that we love. The stars outside burned cold and distant, but inside the Aurelia, Hope blazed brighter than ever. The Aurelia pierced the swirling mists of the Veil of Stars, the cosmic gateway that separated their galaxy from the progenitor's lost realm. Outside the ship's thick viewport, stars pulsed with unnatural colors: violet, emerald, and liquid silver, twisting like ribbons in the void. Selene stood on the bridge, her jaw set tight. Around her, the crew moved with quiet purpose, knowing this passage marked the threshold of the war's true battleground. "Readings are unstable," Lyra called out, eyes glued to her console. "Time dilation, spatial distortions. It's like nothing we've ever encountered." Cale cracked his knuckles, wariness shadowing his usually confident demeanor. "I don't like this. We're stepping into the unknown. But we don't have a choice." Rivas's voice echoed steady, calm. "Remember, we're more than soldiers. We're the legacy of the progenitors and architects combined. Our ancestors fought here, and so will we." The ship drifted deeper into the veil. Space itself seemed to ripple, a living tapestry woven of light and shadow. Suddenly, an immense wave of energy surged through the Aurelia, and the ship trembled violently. "Brace for impact," Rivas shouted. Outside, a vast form emerged from the cosmic storm, a colossal serpentine entity made of stars and shadow, the Void's harbinger. Its eyes blazed with cosmic fire, probing the Aurelia's hull like a predator sensing weakness. Selene raised her voice, steadying her crew. "Prepare all defenses. This is what we came for." The battle began in the heart of the veil. Energy beams lanced from the Aurelia, striking the creature's shimmering hide. The Void's harbinger responded with waves of corrupting darkness, attempting to infiltrate the ship's systems and minds. Lyra's fingers flew over her console, working feverishly to shield their neural implants from the psychic assault. Kyle led boarding teams, determined to strike at the creature's core if the chance arose. Selene piloted the ship with razor focus, weaving through starfire and shadow tendrils, seeking a weakness. As the fight dragged on, the Harbinger's attacks intensified. It whispered horrors in the minds of the crew, visions of destruction, despair, and endless war. But Selene held her ground, her voice rising above the psychic storm. "We are not our origins. We are the future." Suddenly, the ship's scanners picked up a faint signal deep inside the creature's form, a possible core. Cale's voice crackled over comms. "This is our shot. Boarding teams, prepare to deploy." Within the Harbinger's massive body, corridors of pulsating light and shadow twisted like a labyrinth. Cale's squad moved cautiously, every step fraught with danger. Inside, they discovered remnants of the progenitor's technology, ancient relics fused with the Void's corruption. Lyra and Talar coordinated remotely, guiding the squad through the maze and providing hacking support. At the heart, Cale confronted the Harbinger's core, a glowing orb of pure Void energy, pulsating with malignant intelligence. "Plant the disruptor charges," Cale ordered, urgency in his voice. As they worked, the core began to react, unleashing waves of psychic energy that threatened to overwhelm them. Kyle gritted his teeth. "Hold steady. We finish this now." Back on the Aurelia, Selene faced the Harbinger's assault head-on, piloting through collapsing stars and raging cosmic storms. Her mind reached out to her crew, anchoring them in the storm of fear and madness. The disruptor charges detonated, sending a shockwave through the Harbinger's core. The creature writhed, its form unraveling like threads of shadow pulled apart by a cosmic hand. With a final roar that shook the very fabric of the veil, the Harbinger dissipated, the swirling storm beginning to calm. Silence fell. The Aurelia's crew gathered, exhausted, but victorious. Rivas spoke solemnly. "This battle is won, but the war endures. The Void is vast, and it will not yield easily." Selene nodded. "But we've proven something vital. We are more than weapons. We are guardians of hope." Lyra smiled tiredly. "And now we have the progenitor's gateway open. The final chapter awaits. The ship turned toward the depths of the progenitor's realm, a realm of wonders and dangers beyond imagining. As the stars outside burned cold and indifferent, inside the Aurelia, a fierce light burned, the unbreakable spirit of a species forged, in war, choosing its own destiny. The Aurelia drifted into the heart of the progenitor's realm, where stars shimmered like crystal fires and time folded upon itself like a living spiral. The crew moved with quiet reverence. This was sacred ground, the cradle of their origins, and the battlefield where the fate of countless galaxies had once been decided. Captain Riva stood beside Celine on the bridge, eyes fixed on the endless, cosmic expanse. "We've come far," Riva said softly, "but the real test lies ahead." Celine nodded, her gaze steady. "The progenitor's legacy isn't just war or creation. It's the choice we make now." Lyra worked feverishly in the lab, analyzing ancient progenitor data salvaged from the last battle. Patterns emerged, complex sequences of genetic codes, weapons blueprints, but also philosophical treatises on balance and unity. These weren't just creators of warriors, Lyra explained to the assembled crew. They sought harmony between strength and compassion, war and peace. Talar, whose translucent form pulsed faintly, added, "Their disappearance was not defeat but a conscious withdrawal, an evolution beyond physical existence, trusting their creations to carry the mantle." Rivas frowned. "And yet here, we are, still fighting." Selena's voice was quiet but resolute. "Because the void remains, a threat to all life and hope. But we now have the tools, and the will, to end it." The Aurelia approached the nexus of the progenitor's realm, a colossal structure orbiting a dying star, part temple, part fortress, shimmering with ancient power. It was said to house the heart of creation, a source of unimaginable energy and wisdom. "This is where we make our stand," Selena declared. Boarding teams readied themselves, armed with new weapons forged from progenitor technology and their own evolved genetics. Inside the nexus, the atmosphere thrummed with raw energy. Walls gleamed with crystalline filaments that pulsed like veins, alive with knowledge and power. The crew advanced cautiously, aware they were not just fighting for survival, but for the future of all existence. Suddenly, shadows coalesced. The Void's ultimate form, a swirling mass of pure darkness and malice, its voice a chorus of despair and rage. "You think you can defy the war you were born from?" it hissed. "I am the end and the beginning. You are nothing but pawns." Selena stepped forward, her voice unwavering. "We are not pawns. We are the authors of our own fate." The final battle erupted, a clash of light and shadow, of hope against oblivion. The Aurelia's crew fought with every fiber of their being. Selene's squad unleashed waves of progenitor energy, cutting through the Void's minions. Kyle led a strike team to disrupt the core of the darkness. Lyra coordinated the ship's systems, channeling the heart of creation's energy to shield their minds and bodies from corruption. Riva stood at the command deck, guiding the battle with strategic precision, his voice a steady beacon amid chaos. In a moment of clarity, Selene reached the heart of creation itself, a pulsating orb of pure light. She extended her hand, feeling its warmth flood through her veins, amplifying her strength, her will. The Void recoiled, its form unraveling under the radiant power. "Your war is over," Selena declared, "but ours has just begun. The war to build, to heal, to create." The darkness shattered, dissolving into the void from which it came. Silence fell across the nexus. The crew of the Aurelia gathered around the heart of creation, feeling its gentle pulse, a symbol of life, hope, and endless possibility. Rivas spoke, his voice filled with awe. "We were engineered for war, yes, but we were also made for something greater." Selene smiled, hope shining in her eyes. "The legacy we forge is not one of destruction, but of choice, of humanity's power to rise above their origins." Lyra nodded. "We carry the past in our genes, but the future in our hands." As the Aurelia prepared to leave the progenitor's realm, the crew looked outward, toward the countless stars awaiting their light. They were warriors no longer bound by the chains of their creation. They were creators, protectors, and pioneers. They were human, and they were ready to write a new story for the galaxy.